partnerships of mutual interest. As we are all aware, development demands in Kenya and many countries far outweigh the available resources. The government is therefore implementing its commitments in partnership with yourselves, not only in alignment with our foreign policy, but also to support the fulfillment of our development objectives. The job creation and income opportunity agenda has become a critical anchor in our programming going forward. Thus, it is important to review existing programs for purposes of evaluating their currency and responsiveness to this agenda of job and income creation and other priority programs within the context of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Our focus on opportunities, especially those that help our nascent industries and sectors, including micro, small, and medium enterprises, is our new north. We must drive job and value creation in our programming. Where the same is not perfectly aligned, we must be willing and able to allow change. In other words, we are requesting our development partners to work with us to align existing and future programs with the priorities of Kenya, notably the priorities of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which is spearheaded by this administration, and also the vision, the Kenya Vision 2030 priorities. We will also be supporting the diversification of our economy to create jobs and expand the tax base. To do this, we are examining measures to support private sector enterprises operating in key development areas such as manufacturing and agriculture, and attract and retain domestic and foreign direct investment. This forum therefore remains a critical platform, not only to review the progress of our official development assistance, but also to reflect on how this assistance aligns with Kenya's national priorities. Most importantly, it's a unique opportunity to cement and fortify the partnership that we all cherish. Ladies and gentlemen, as we convene today, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question, which is, are the ODA programs and projects jointly funded by the government and yourselves, the development partners, demand-driven, or are they supply-driven? During the last DPF, concerns were raised regarding absorption rates of our jointly funded projects. Therefore, a report is being tabled today, which presents a mixed bag of results characterized by a progress that is fragile. We do not take it for granted that the collaboration with development partners, the government of Kenya has made impressive achievements in terms of socio-economic development, as well as the management of our environment and natural resources. While we celebrate the milestones we have achieved together as partners, we must confront recurring challenges that continue to hinder optimal absorption of ODA. And these challenges are attributable to both sides of the partnership, with development partners and the government of actionable steps to overcome these setbacks. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, chief among these is the issue of counterpart funding. The absence of clear, predictable counterpart funding requirements embedded within the financing agreements continues to pose a serious impediment to project implementation. We have also identified the challenge of uncoordinated off-budget support. whose lack of centralized visibility presents risks such as double allocation of resources to similar projects, ineffective planning, and possible lack of accountability. Further, addressing aged, stalled, and delayed projects is essential to optimizing resources and mitigating risks, anchored by a strong monitoring and evaluation framework. We expect to receive the report on measures to address this and other challenges, and we are working with the National Treasury to issue guidelines specifying counterpart funding caps, eligible expenditures, and clearer provisions to ring-fence counterpart contributions from budget cuts. Further, we are encouraging prioritization of in-kind contributions and visibility of all off-budget support to ease fiscal pressure. We are also intent on introducing clear criteria for identifying viable projects and introducing cut-off periods beyond which projects should be renegotiated or terminated. Some of the projects are 15, 20, 25 years old. We cannot continue having them on board. We have either to renegotiate them because of the fundamental change of circumstances, or terminate them, or otherwise deal with them. This will invariably involve the review of the Joint Sector Working Group framework, and I think there is a presentation today, to secure its viability and an anchorage of the DPF process. We all remember that nearly 2 decades ago, Excellencies, the Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness of 2005 set out 5 principles, namely country ownership, alignment, harmonization, managing for results, and mutual accountability. These tenets remain as relevant today as they did back then. The Nairobi Declaration on Climate Change, adopted at the Africa Climate Summit, serves as Africa's common position on future climate negotiations. This declaration emphasizes the need for global collaboration to mobilize climate finance and reforms to the global financial system to better support African nations in their climate goals. We expect to receive a status report from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Climate Change, and a call to action in this regard. Lastly, we appreciate that development partner support may be impacted by the general withdrawal of support to key programs, particularly by traditional partners such as the United States of America. Major policy shifts are reshaping country priorities, impacting on the long-standing financing support we have traditionally received as a country. We expect to receive a report from the National Treasury on the mitigation actions in place and the particular reforms being prioritized to secure seamless transitions. Our DPF today should invariably lead us to adopt a whole-of-society approach in leveraging funds through coordinated structures to maximize impact, reduce duplication, improve governance, and strengthen linkages among interconnected projects. As we gather here today, our goal is to deepen ongoing reforms, strengthen the use of county systems, improve absorption rates, and ensure that every shilling of ODA is fully aligned with Vision 2030, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, and the medium-term plan for priorities, while honoring our commitments under the Paris, Accra, Busan, and Nairobi outcome frameworks. Let us transform ODA from a mere flow of resources into a powerful driver of Kenya's sustainable and inclusive transformation. I would like to thank all of you for joining us here today and working with us to achieve our national priorities aimed at improving the livelihoods of the people of Kenya. With these remarks, it is my great pleasure to officially declare the 13th Development Partnership Forum open and invite us to receive the first presentation of today's program. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to just say how important it is for us to gather here today and to apologize that it has taken a bit long for us to convene. I assumed the current responsibilities around 10 months ago, maybe 9. By the time I was settling in to organize ourselves for this event, I think some of you had gone on vacation 2 months ago or thereabouts, and therefore I delayed on my part, but also when I was ready, the circumstances were not also mutually aligned for us to have a meeting maybe in July. Having said that also, I just want us to really concentrate on taking this forum and its deliberations forward. So we are looking at just picking what is it, what are the sticking issues. It is counterpart funding. It is off-budget support issues. It is whether PMFA supports the kind of requests we are asking our development partners to align to. It is looking at old, stalled projects and see whether we should do with them, and so forth and so on. So if you tease out the issues, there are about 5, 6 issues, and that should not take forever. We should just look at the progress made, listen to what proposals are being put on the table, and make decisions on how we progress. And I really hope, because of the time lost in convening this DPF, the 13th one, I think the 14th one should come early, very early. And I want to propose that before we close this calendar year, maybe before Christmas, we should have another DPF so that we catch up with our responsibilities. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, I invite you to take your seat as chair and now hand over to Ambassador Groth to moderate us through the next session of this program. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Wanjiku. Thank you very much, Deputy President, for this programmatic introduction of the day or of the morning. I have the honor and great pleasure now to invite the CS National Treasury and Economic Planning, CS John Bardi, for a brief presentation on the macroeconomic framework and the growth projections of the Kenyan government. After this presentation, we will have a brief exchange, and we designated some icebreakers for each discussion to start us off. And I would really invite also the partners of the Development Partner Forum to chip into this discussion. We want to make it interactive and responsive and as engaged as possible. Thank you very much. CS Mbadi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much.
The Cabinet Secretary for, where is Alfred? He's left.
Yeah, he has just left. He informed me that he has another meeting at 9. So
who can be a good timekeeper? I wanted him to be timekeeper. CS Ogamba, you're the timekeeper. CS Mbadi has 10 minutes. And thank you, Ambassador Groth, for cheering Harambee Stars. I saw you at the stadium.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And in the interest of time, Your Excellency, you'll allow me to ride on the protocols already established so that I go straight into making my presentation. As usual, presentation on financials and economy tend to be detailed, but I will try as much as possible to make it simple and summarized. So, despite the fact that we've had a lot of external and internal shocks coming from COVID-19, and then immediately thereafter the geopolitical dynamics, the war in Ukraine, the war in Middle East, and recently the trade wars that we have witnessed, especially between the two world leading economies, still Kenya has managed to register an average growth of 5% in the past 3 years. Last year, 2024, the growth went down a little bit to 4.7%, and we know why, because we had a lot of internal shocks. But now, the first quarter of 2025, our economy grew at 4.9%, which is the same percentage of growth as the same period in 2024. And we project that the economy will grow in this year, 2025, into 2026 at 5.3%. This is informed by the diversification of our economy. That's why we are seeing resilience in our economy. Agricultural sector constitutes about 22%. Transport sector, we are fairly diversified. Manufacturing sector is at contributes 7.3% of our GDP, but that needs to go up, and that is the intention of the government. Now, in this first quarter of the year, agriculture and public administration showed the highest growth. Agriculture at 6%, higher than 2024, which was 5.6%. And of course, I've shown clearly, you will move with me very fast, I've shown clearly how our economy has been growing. The dip was in 2020 during COVID, then 2021 was the sharpest growth because of the low base rates. Moving to the next, and I hope I may not be looking behind, so you will have to move very quickly with me. Inflation has stabilized at around 4.1%, down from 4.3% the same period in 2024, but again, far much down from 9.6% in October 2022. I have shown clearly that energy prices have been going down or declining, and food prices have also gone down, but now have started showing signs of elevation. We have demonstrated between a comparison from November 2023, July 2024, and July 2025. If you compare the prices of basic commodities from July 2024 to July 2025, there is a bit of elevation, but from November 2023, you see a reduction in prices of most basic commodities. It's even further if you checked how the prices were early 2023 and late 2022. Moving to the next slide, we have demonstrated interest rates have been declining with the easing of monetary policy by the Central Bank of Kenya, and the governor is here. The interbank rate has declined to about 9.6% in July 2025 compared to 13.2% in July 2024. The 91-day treasury bill, that is the borrowing rate by the government, has consistently come down from 2024. You can see in July 2024, it was 16%. That is the rate at which we could borrow in the market, in the domestic market for the 91-day treasury bill. Today, and the last rate last Thursday was at exactly 8%. That is 50% of the rate. So we presently are borrowing cheaply in the domestic market. Lending rates have also followed suit. The rates at which banks are giving loans to the private sector and individuals has come down in terms of averages. From November 2024 to July 2025, it is 17.2% to now 15.3%. Credit extension to the private sector had shown almost negative growth. Actually, if you look at that graph, you'll see that in December 2024, January 2025, it was even negative. But now we have started seeing that the credit uptake by private sector started going up, growing at 2.2% in the year to June 2025. But that is now coming to the latest, I think, is about 3.3%. The next slide is about why we have shown resilience as an economy. It's because our current account deficit has been shrinking, and I'm sure we understand what current account is. When the deficit shrinks, it is better for our economy. Exports have been growing at about 7.7%. Diaspora remittances have shown a growth of about 12%. So those two combined have helped to narrow and reduce the budget deficit. In terms Actually, if you do check at that graph, you will see that from March 2024 to date, the shilling has been exchanging to the dollar at an average 129.2 and fairly stable. You can see the graph is flat. But you could see a spike early 2024, and that was because of the risks that we exposed ourselves when we indicated at a country that we may not be able to service the Eurobond that was falling due in June 2024. But after de-risking the Eurobond by buyback, then the shilling strengthened. I have given indicators at the capital markets showing very clearly that the capital markets is showing very good stability. This is clearly a reflection of confidence in our economy and also the FDI flows into the economy. We move to the risks situation, and I would say that still, despite all this rosy picture that we are painting, and it's not just a rosy picture being painted, but is the reality, but still we are at serious fiscal risks. We are continuing to register or record revenue shortfalls. We are still encountering delays in expenditure disbursements, accumulation of pending bills. The debt service cost, which I'll come back to later, is still high. We failed to receive planned external financing from World Bank and IMF, and even part of the UAE loan that we were supposed to get. There's still volatility. Collection was below target by about 67 billion, mainly on account of ordinary revenues that underperformed by 76 billion. So you'll see that other sources of revenue, non-tax revenues, performed much better. Expenditures were also below target by 81 billion. That is in line with our shortfall in revenue. So in terms of budget deficit, it was at 5.8%. The budget deficit... Yeah, the budget deficit, I don't know whether 2 minutes will be enough for me, but I'll try fast. To now only about 12.9%. That is not very good. So that's why we are coming up with tax reforms to make sure that we take our ordinary revenue as a percentage of GDP to a high of, we think we can go to above 17%. I can jump some of this and go to fiscal reforms. Just move to the fiscal reform. But before I go to the fiscal reforms, allow me to mention that our percentage of development budget, development expenditure, which is financed from GOK funds, has been going down gradually. Up to now, only 9.2% is what we are spending on the money that we collect on development. That is not good news at all. And so I would tie it to the low absorption of development partner funding, Your Excellency, that we depend a lot on development partner funding, and therefore if there's also a challenge there in terms of absorption, then our economy will just generally not grow because the development will be affected. We are crowding out our development budget because of recurrent expenditure. We are spending now 48% of our ordinary revenue in servicing debt. So this is something that we must reverse. So allow me just to mention that there are a number of reforms that we are carrying out. These reforms will help us save on expenditure wastages. And that is why we are coming up with, first, we are changing our accounting system from cash to accrual basis so that we can capture all assets and liabilities. We have adopted zero-based budgeting. We are adopting single treasury account, or treasury single account. We are also implementing e-procurement. And I know my friend, my fellow FCPA and governor for Wajir, who is the chairman of COG, you have made a passionate appeal that we allow counties to still continue using manual or alternative method. I want to say, yes, I will look at, I've already seen your letter, we are looking at it, but I want to be very categorical. Your Excellency, we have no choice. We have to go e-procurement. And it must be disruptive. If it is not disruptive, it is not serving the use for which we are putting it. And so, instead of trying to get back to manual, let us see how to make it work. And already we have trained over 94% of those who are supposed to use this system. So there should be no excuses. I am committed to this, and we are going to make sure that e-procurement is implemented in the entire government, both national and county government, with no exception. And I want to appeal even to the Council of Governors. Look at this integration of a payroll system, which the executives at the counties are still delaying us on. It is useful and helpful to the governors. Your officers down there are paying so many ghost workers. We are helping you. So just allow this integration to take place. It will save you a lot of resources. This e-procurement will save you a lot of resources. You will do so much for your people until if you are going for re-election, unfortunately, Governor, I think you are not going back for re-election. But those who will be going back for re-election will find it easy because there will be a lot of disposable revenue to spend. So e-procurement, Your Excellency, allow me to push it and support me in pushing it very hard. There will be pushback, but I want to push on with the e-procurement. Let me end by just mentioning that there are so many reforms that we are implementing. We are also implementing, or rather adopting PPPs as a model to help us save money that would otherwise go for major infrastructural projects, will now go for the social interventions that we may need for our people. I think, then of course there are state-owned enterprise reforms that we are undertaking, and even securitization. Let me end by going back to this e-procurement. I know that one of the contention that is currently being pushed is that Parliament revoked. If there is any government office out there who is going to use that as an excuse, please know I'm not going to buy it. Parliament has not revoked anything, because the question I want to ask, we are implementing IFMIS as an accounting system. Why hasn't it been revoked? Can't you ask yourself? I have issued circulars on zero-based budgeting. I have issued circulars on treasury single account. When I issue circular on e-procurement, people have a problem with it. And all these are circulars from the National Treasury. It's because people have interest in procurement. That is the truth. They still want to go back to manual and manipulate procurement, where they pluck papers from the tender documents. And that is what we are not going to allow. I was hired to bring change. In fact, Parliament vetted me, and one of the things that I committed to Parliament on was to bring e-procurement in government. And they congratulated me for that. So how Parliament can turn around now to say that e-procurement is violating the Constitution? Where is that provision of the Constitution? The Attorney General is here. There is no violation. In fact, the Constitution is very clear that accounting system, procurement system is a function of national treasury. We design the accounting system for government. We design procurement system for government. So there is no excuse. Nothing has been revoked. We did not present anything to Parliament to be revoked. I don't know where they got that document which they were revoking. I have not presented anything to Parliament because there was no legal requirement to present. I issued a circular to government officers to procure through e-procurement, and that is still the position until the cabinet revokes it. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm the assistant of Ambassador Sebastian. So, is it working? CS, is it working?
The e-procurement?
Yeah.
It is working. We are onboarding the budgets, we are putting
Because
the plans.
there are two things. You've said there is pushback,
Yes.
which I agree with you entirely.